Hello everyone, ARG back with some more franchise Ep.23, and today we are playing the month of March 1982, still as the Hartford Waiters. I tried very hard to have a trade for you folks so that we have something to be excited about, because the trade deadline is right upon us in a few days, but I could not make anything going that I was interested in. I would have had to settle, and I am not going to settle. So my train of thought was that, well, I have the worst team's first round draft pick, so maybe I can try and trade mine away and look for some goaltending, and nobody is willing to part with any decent goaltending. I went after Andy Moog, I went after Grant Fuhr, I went after Don Beaupre, I went after Pete Peters, and I even went after Pelle Lindbergh, hoping that, the game engine continues to be kind to him after that. In real life, he you know what happened to him. So yeah, I could not get anything going at all. Now, when I was trying to trade with the Jets for Andy Moog and Grant Fuhr, I was also trying to get Chris Chelios at the same time. But if I was taking Chelios out of the equation, they still would not want like a package for either Grant Fuhr or Andy Moog. So I'm gonna need to be patient and try to hope that Mike Vernon is gonna be good enough, or wait a little bit. Maybe something's gonna show up during like the off season or something like that. But yeah, so there was intent. I tried really hard. I just couldn't get it going. So it's going to be a quiet trade deadline for us this time around. So sorry about that, folks. I know that it's always more exciting when I'm like, oh, I have a trade in the works and you're not going to believe what I traded for. Not this time. All right, so we're going to go ahead and take a quick look. We are third in the conference still, so I'm very proud about that. Of course, Montreal is uncatchable. They're more than 30 points ahead of me. They're 32 points ahead of me. That's 16 wins ahead of me. So we're gonna need to be content with finishing second in the division, and hopefully that's gonna be enough to propel us further. We have a couple injuries that are day-to-day, so nothing too crazy. Looks like March is going to be a pretty busy month, so let's get going. Now, we have a couple days off before we play our first game in March, but yeah. Alright, so Rob Tudor and John Baby are on waivers. Interesting name. Alright, so Mike Bussey extends his point streak to 18 games. He had 2 goals against the Leafs. Brian Throthier extends his assist streak to 8 games with an assist in that same game. Owner confidence update. Let's see here. Thinks that the season is successful so far. We're in a rebuilding process. Not expected to be a serious contender next season. Oh, we will be. Fans are satisfied. Ooh, for the first time, the fans are happy with me. All right, we're doing good. And of course, there we go. John Garrett involved in an off-ice incident and a new clique formed in my team. Yeah, that I'm not a big fan of those new features that they have added. It's just shenanigans to me. Yeah, so Right, the media has taken notice and the fans aren't happy about it, but his teammates don't seem to be particularly bothered by it. Alright, so I don't know what he's done, but his teammates are not pissed, at least. Alright, the clique is Mark Messier, John Garrett, Bernie Johnston, and Ron Stackhouse. Right, Stackhouse is going to be gone by the end of this season. I might try to intervene to break this clique. Trade rumor, Wayne Dillon may be leaving Winnipeg. What will Washington do with Gary Innes? Oh, alright, so Norm Aubin was traded for John Beebe and Orion Lovedahl, I think is how you pronounce that. Yeah, not a big trade. And of course, Baby now on waivers. Risto Kirkinen is being offered to me for Mike Simerda. Yeah, we're gonna say no to this. The contract slot is more important to me than this guy. If he had a few role ratings that were really close and everything, I might have done it, but yeah, I'm not doing it for what he had to offer. Alright, so let's take a look at that click. My time is way too precious to be worrying about that kind of bullshit. Alright. Alright, so we did have Mark Messier as well. So Anton Stashny is almost done being pissed at him. Jay Wells, it's a little bit more complicated. And Gordy Roberts, Dave Poulin still. Alright, I'm gonna intervene for the click. There you go. Gonna try to break that up. Ooh, the cat. That's so stupid. Alright, so so you understand what's going on here, right? So Mark Messier is part of the clique. Mark Messier is also my captain. So I intervened, and now the captain is telling Bernie Johnson, get out of the clique. So doesn't that make Mark Messier more cliquish? That feature needs work, folks. It needs work. That's terrible. Alright, so let's advance one more day and try to focus on things that actually have to do with Aki. Strong night for Mike Bussey. He had a hat-trick against the Flames. That was 5 straight games with a goal for him and 19 straight with a point. Brian Throther extends his assist streak to 9 games with an assist in that same game. Bobby Clark has a great game. He had 4 assists against the Jets. Bernie Federico extends his point streak to 15 games. He had 2 goals against the Bruins. Rick Middleton extends his goal streak to 6 games. He had a goal in that same game. Coach reports on new players. Those 2 players are more comfortable. Rick Aduano feeling better from his injury. Will St. Louis move Jim Dory? Put on the block. Bob Murdoch on the block. Jerry Hart on the block. And then they traded him, apparently. Count against Bill Ogaboom. And we have a trade proposal from the Maple Leafs. You want to trade me Rick Chumey for Brian Hill? Oh, he's a defenseman. Yeah, I'm gonna say no. Even though he's a defenseman, I don't think he's gonna make it. Alright, so we are in Buffalo to play the Sabres. Sabres are 26, 27, and 11. That is good for 6th in the conference. We are 3-1-1 against Buffalo this season. Hopefully we can turn things around now. Remember, at the end of February, we went 4 or 5 games straight losses. So we want to turn that around here for sure. John Garrett is going to be in net for the Whalers. Goran Augusta is going to be in net for Buffalo. And go Whalers, go. Oh, another loss. All right, so we are on an actual skid right now. That's an 8-5 loss in Buffalo. That's not good. We outshot Buffalo 39-33. Sauvé was the first star of the game. He had 3 goals and an assist. Gilles Hamel was the second star with a goal and 2 assists. And Islop was the third star with a goal and an assist. Buffalo scored 3 times in the first period. Then Peter Stastny scored his 30th from Wilf Payment and Mark Messier. Then Buffalo scored again. It was 4-1 Buffalo after 1. And in the second period, Buffalo scored again. It was 5-1. Then we scored twice. Matty Agman scored his 15th from Bob Stevenson and Anton Stastny. Then Paul Coffey scored on the power play from Gordy Roberts and Chuck Lefley. It was 5-3 at that point. Buffalo scored again. It was 6-3 after 2. Buffalo made it 7-3, then Brent Sutter scored on the power play from Paul Coffey and Jay Wells. It was 7-4. Buffalo scored again. It was 8-4. We scored one more. Chuck Lefley on the power play from Gordy Roberts and Peter Stastny, but that was not enough. Alright, so we have lost, I believe, 5 in a row. That's not pretty. Mike Amadeo has been put on waivers, and Bill Ogabone as well, which I recently acquired. There was no stopping JF Sauvé. He had a 3 goals and 1 assist performance against us, as we saw. Maurice Lukovic extends his goal streak to 5 games with a goal against Chicago. Daryl Sutter extends his goal streak to 5 games. He had a goal and 2 assists against the Jets. Réal Cloutier extends his goal streak to 5 games with 2 goals against the Oilers. Bernie Fedorko's point streak ended at 15 games. He was held scoreless against Washington. Ricardo Uono within sight of returning. Bo Berglund close to comeback as well. St. Louis is trying to trade Ron Plum that I traded to them a couple seasons ago, I think. There was a trade between the Islanders and Canadiens. Gaston Gingras goes to the Islanders for Wayne Merrick. And we have a trade proposal from Minnesota. Peter Madak for Don Gillen. No, thank you. Alright, we have a couple of days off, and then we're going to play at home against Buffalo. I guess I missed it when I looked at the schedule that we had a home and home against them. So 2 days off before, lots of... Okay, so the trade deadline is today. That's why I have all of those trade proposals that are probably all terrible, to be honest with you. Mike Bossy extends his goal streak to 6 games, a goal and an assist against the Leafs. Mike Bossy extends his point streak to 20 games, thanks to that performance. Rayo Ristolainen extends his point streak to 12 games. He had an assist in that same game. Brian Thorthier's assist streak ended at 9 games. He did get a goal, but no assists, so that streak is over. Ricardo Uono says, I'm ready. That's good. Bo Berglund is ready as well. Alright, so Pierre Plante is on the block. Cliff Carroll on the block. John Stewart on the block. And then it's all trade proposals. I'm going to need to look at all of them because they could implicate the same player, and maybe there's something that I want in there. Alright, so Peter Madak for Don Gillen. I feel like we've tried that already and I said no, so that's easy. Neil Komadoski for Ray Allison. Really? That's gonna be a no. Dan Clark for Alex Tidy. No. Really? Why is it that it feels like when there's a team that makes me a really stupid offer that I cannot refuse, why is it that it's always the Islanders? Like way back, a few years back, the Islanders offered me a very young Brian McCabe for Rob Murphy. And now they are offering me Steve Thomas for Byron Schott. Yes, please. So I got Steve Thomas, folks. So that's a trade I couldn't refuse. So Steve Thomas should become a pretty decent left winger for us. So that's a good one. Right, the Leafs offering me Jim Aldred for Stuart Smith. That's gonna be a no from me. Claude Loisel for Jeff Brubaker. Now, Claude Loisel shouldn't be a superstar, but he should also be a guy that can play in the NHL. I am going to complete that trade as well. Wow, the Islanders are offering me all kinds of stuff here. Alright, so I'm gonna say no to this one here. Right, so the Leafs don't know how to make a trade, right? The Islanders, now they know how to make a trade that I'm going to accept, you know? Right, do they have another one in there? No, they don't. Dang. Right, the Rangers are offering me Gilles Thibodeau for Brian Hill. I'm gonna say no. Anthony Circelli for Jeff Bandura. Gonna say no. Greg Thompson for Mike Simerda. We're gonna say no. And finally, Rick Toomey for MF Sherman. We're gonna say no. Alright, so we made 2 trades after all. So Claude Loisel and Steve Thomas are now part of the Whalers organization, and I'm pretty happy about it. I'm pretty happy about those trades. Because I sent Byron Schutt. He was never going to play for me again. And neither was Jeff Brubaker. I'm moving away from enforcers. So, yeah, we're going to delete all messages. It's going to be faster to do it that way. Now, let's take a look at our lineup after all those trades. Of course, I can't have all of them with me. So, Steve Thomas is going to go in the minors. And so will Claude Loisel. And they both have a contract for 2 more years, so I don't have to sign them. It's beautiful. So 2 guys that should be able to play in the NHL. Thomas should become a goal scorer, and Claude Loisel should be a guy that can play on the 3rd line if everything goes according to plan, that is. And of course, the Islanders are putting Jeff Brubaker straight on waivers after burning a prospect to get him. Alright, so I'm gonna check all those waivers first. Hey, FJ. I know, right? So you saw what I got for what I had to give up for? Alright, so I'm not gonna go for any of those guys, of course. Alright, so Mars Lukovic extends his goal streak to 6 games. He had a goal against the Red Wings. Hey, it's going well. What about you? Strong game for Steve Schutt. He had a hat-trick against the Capitals. There was a trade between Quebec and Toronto. John Stewart for Vincent Tremblay. A small trade. Islanders and Maple Leafs made a trade. Mike Ordy for Kevin Foster. Another small trade. Well, that's good. That's good. I haven't seen you super often around these parts lately. Then there was a trade between the Nordiques and the Rangers. Steve Bozek and Jim Benning for Nick Fotiu. And the rights to Dave Morrison. Nick Fotiu, our former face puncher, was in a trade. Islanders and Canadians in a trade. Doug Evans for Doug Patey. No. Toronto deals Boudreau. Oh, Bruce Boudreau was traded for Hector Marini. Yeah. No, it's alright over here. I've got a light to shine upon me while I'm streaming so people can, see my ugly face and the beard. But, yeah, doing alright. Right, Quebec and Toronto, Richard David for Rob Plum. Toronto and New York, Neil Komodowski for Jean Hamel. Pierre Plante for Randy Johnston. Dave Silk for Bob Stewart. And Brian Ogilvy for John Smith. So all very small trades. That is correct. That is correct. So what I have to ask the question, what do you think the Sens are gonna make the playoffs after everything that has been done? I am not sure that they will. We are playing well, we are really fun to watch and everything, but there's a lot. We basically need to win about 15 of our next 20 games. That's gonna be tough. All right, Buffalo in town. They are now 27, 27, and 11. They are still 6th in the conference. We dropped 4th. We are now 3, 2, and 1 against them. Let's beat their ass. They might. I mean, of course, I wish that it's going to happen, but man, like, we're gonna need to stay healthy and everything. That's not gonna be easy. Goran Augusta's gonna be in net for Buffalo. Gilles Gilbert in net for the Whalers, and of course, as usual, go Whalers, go! Another loss, 6-5. That's 6 straight losses now. Oh yeah, you want Connor Bedard with the abs. Hartford outshot Buffalo 32-28. Danny Gare was the first star of the game. He had 2 goals and an assist. Paul Coffey was the second star with 2 assists. And Gilbert was the third star with a goal and 2 assists. 9,045 people in attendance. Buffalo scored first, then Chuck Liffley tied the game from Bob Stevenson and Rick Aduono. It was tied at 1 after 1. Then in the second period, we scored 3 goals. Anton Stastny from Matty Agman and Darren Veitch. Then Matty Agman from Paul Coffey and Anton Stastny. Then Peter Stastny from Glenn Anderson and Paul Coffey. It was 4-1 Hartford. Then Buffalo scored and made it 4-2. Then Jordy Douglas scored early in the third period from Bob Stevenson, made it 5-2, and then we allowed 4 unanswered goals, and we lost 6-5, so we couldn't hold on to the lead. We had a 3-goal lead in the third period, and we couldn't hold on to it. That's sad.
This is a Game Shops jam.
Ooh. If you do get that, you might want to spend your hard-earned money on hookers or something so that it's not wasted away. Or, you know, if you have a girlfriend, that works too. Alright, so Los Angeles Kings, sources front office hiring of Ferreira, so they might be canning their coach there. Daryl Sutter extends his goal streak to 6 games. He had a goal and an assist against the Flyers. Mike Bossy extends his goal streak to 7 games. He had a goal against the Rangers. That was 21 straight games with a point for him. Rayo Rustalainen extends his point streak to 13 games with an assist in that same game. And Real Cloutier extends his goal streak to 6 games with a goal against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Hopefully Pittsburgh still sucks until the end of the season because I have their first round draft pick. Alright, we are hosting the Kings. Hopefully we can start turning things around against them there. They are 20, 37, and 8. We are 1-0-1 against the Kings. I need a win. Like, I had an awesome 2.5 month streak, and now I'm just unable to win a hockey game. So hopefully it comes here. Mario Lessard is going to be in net for the Kings. John Garrett in net for the Whalers. Come on, guys. Give me a W. Alright, 8-3 win. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Right, so we outshot the Kings 39-26 in that one. Peter Stastny was the first star of the game. He had 4 assists. Wilf Payment was the second star with a goal and 3 assists. And Ron Stackhouse was the third star with 2 goals and an assist. I think it's in 2 drafts, I believe. Right, we had 8,570 people in attendance for this game. We scored 5 goals in the first 10 minutes of the game. Ron Stackhouse from Peter Stastny and Wilf Payment, then Chuck Liffley on the power play from Paul Coffey and Wilf Payment, Bo Berglund from Dave Poulin and Jordy Douglas. Ron Stackhouse then scored short-handed from Matty Agman and Peter Stastny, then Wilf Payment from Peter Stastny and Ron Stackhouse, 5-0 after 1. Then in the second period, the Kings scored. It was 5-1. Then Anton Stachny scored from Peter Stachny and Wolf Payment. Then the Kings scored again, and we scored again. Mark Messier scored his 25th from Rob Ramage and Paul Coffey. 7-2 after 2. Then we traded goals in the third period. King scored first, it was 7-3, and then Dave Poulin scored shorthanded from Gordy Roberts and Jay Wells, and it was an 8-3 victory. I looked it up when Lemieux comes up, and I think it's in 2 seasons, but I could be misremembering. I don't remember if he was drafted in 83 or 84. It's one of the two. I know that 82 is a little bit of a weak class, but it still has like some awesome players like Scott Stevens and Phil Housley, I think, but overall it's a little weak for 1982. Alright, Bob Stevenson got hurt in that game, so we're gonna need to take a look at that. Oh, look at all those players that are put on waivers. None of which I want. Bob Stevenson is only day-to-day, so we're good. Peter Stachny has a strong game. He had 4 assists, as we saw. Pierre Mondoux extends his assist streak to 8 games. He had an assist against Buffalo. And Maurice Lukowicz extends his goal streak to 7 games with a goal against the Canucks. Against the Nucks. I can look, but yeah, nothing over there that I'm like, oh, I need this player right now. Right, 2 days off, and then we're going to be hosting the Winnipeg Jets. Bill Bennett, our old pal, is back from suspension in New York, back in the lineup. And Doug Wilson extended with Chicago. He's going to be there for 3 years more. A 3-year extension. Boston's Crowder is suspended, so Keith Crowder is going to miss 5 games with a suspension. I don't think so. I don't think that 1996, that's the year of Chris Phillips, I believe. I don't think so. I think that was a pretty weak draft. Great night for Rick Middleton. He had a goal and 5 assists against Montreal. That's a pretty good game. Pierre Mondoux extends his assist streak to 9 games in that game. He had 2 assists. Réal Cloutier extends his goal streak to 7 games with 2 goals against the Flames. Mike Bossy extends his goal streak to 8 games. He had a goal and an assist against the Blues. That was 22 straight games with a point for him. Hey, Chris Phillips was a very serviceable defenseman for several years in the NHL. Okay, because we had a drinking game going whenever, what's his name? Dean Brown would call the game. Every time that he would say Chris Phillips is unable to hold the puck at the blue line, we would drink, and we got drunk with that. That was mostly near the end of Chris Phillips' career, to be fair. The infamous Chris Phillips drinking game. Rayo Russolainen's point streak ended at 13 games. It was held scoreless against the Blues, and Brian Throthier in that same game extended his point streak to 12 games. He had a goal. All right, we're about to play Winnipeg. I'm going to take a quick second here. All right. Oh man, you're gonna get alcohol coma within the first 10 minutes of the game. Alright, so Winnipeg is in town. They are not very good this year. They are 16, 41, and 9. We are 2-0 against Winnipeg this season. Let's beat them again. We need all the points we can get. Grant Fior is going to be in net for the Jets. Gilles Gilbert in net for the Whalers. And of course, give me a weighty W, please. Please? Thank you. A nice 9-3 victory at home against the Jets. And of course, a little bit of trivia here. Funny thing, and I've pointed it out before, the goaltending tandem in Winnipeg is the same that was for real-life Oilers. They both have Andy Moog and Grant Fior. Alright, so a nice 9-3 victory. I like it, I like it, I like it. We outshot Winnipeg 39-29. Mark Messier was the first star of the game with 3 goals and an assist. Wilf Payment was the second star with a goal and 4 assists. And Peter Stastny was the third star with a goal and 3 assists. 8,608 people in attendance for this game. Yeah, a time-honored tradition for sure. Right, so the Jets scored first in the first period, then Mark Messier scored from Paul Coffey and Gordy Roberts, and then Anton Stastny scored his 30th from Gordy Roberts and Bo Berglund, 2-1 Hartford after 1. Then in the second period, Gordy Roberts scored on a power play from Chuck Lefley and Wilf Payment, and then Peter Stastny from Rob Ramage and Mark Messier, 4-1 Hartford here after 2. In the third period, Winnipeg came to within 2 with a goal, and then we scored 4 goals. Wilf Payment on the power play from Peter Stastny and Paul Coffey, then Rick Aduano from Paul Coffey and Anton Stastny, Rob Ramage from Wilf Payment and Paul Coffey, then Mark Messier from Wilf Payment and Peter Stastny. It was 8-2. The Jets scored, and then with 4 seconds left to go in the game, Mark Messier was like, I have another one in me. From Wilf Payment and Peter Stastny, 9-3, the final score. And of course, that was Mark Messier's hat-trick goal scored with 4 seconds left to go in the game. Alright, lots of news here because we did a bunch of stuff. Oh, Glenn Anderson got hurt in that game. Open ice leads to a productive night for Paul Coffey. He had 4 assists, as we saw. Maurice Dukovic extends his goal streak to 8 games. He had 2 goals and an assist against us. A great night for Mark Messier, as we saw. He had 3 goals and an assist, and Wilf Payment a goal and 4 assists. Mike Bossy extends his goal streak to 9 games with a goal against the Minnesota North Stars. Oh, FJ, I think you missed that. I don't know if you saw around. I think you missed that a couple streams ago. A couple streams ago, Minnesota played against Detroit, and Minnesota won 7-1, so nothing too crazy there. But all 7 goals for Minnesota were scored by Zeno Cicerelli. That was pretty awesome. Mike Bossy extends his point streak to 23 games with his performance, and Brian Throther extends his point streak to 13 games with 2 assists. I know I've never seen that, and I don't know if it has ever happened in real life that like the same guy scores that many goals and it's all the goals for his team. I don't know what's the max. I would think probably like 4 or 5 or something like that, but 7, that's pretty impressive. I don't know. I didn't even try. But yeah, that would require spending some time in Google for sure. Or maybe we can ask the NHL heads or something. Bobby Clark played in his 1000th game, didn't score a point. That was against the Rangers. Bobby Clark is 32 and he is a 2.5-star player. Oh, checking the game. I don't know. So that would be the, record here. But I don't know if maybe it happened afterwards or in real life. And, a guy might have scored 6, but his team won 10-2, So I don't know how I would look it up. All right, we have a couple days off, and then we're going to be in Montreal. That's going to be a tough game. But was it all 7 goals from his team, though? Maurice Lukovic extends his goal streak to... Yeah. Maurice Lukovic extends his goal streak to 9 games. He had a goal against Boston. Thomas Graydon has a great game, a goal and 4 assists against the Calgary Flames. Bob Stewart is suspended with the Rangers. He's going to miss 3 games. Pete Maravlich played in his 1000th game in the NHL. No points registered. That was against the Rangers. Pete Maravlich is 35 years old and he is a 3-star player. Eddie Johnston extends his point streak to 12 games with a goal against Chicago. Pierre Mondoux extends his point streak to 12 games with an assist in that same game. It was 10 straight games with an assist for him. And Daryl Sutter extends his assist streak to 8 games with an assist in that same game. 7 of 10, yeah. So that would be quite the record that Zeno Cesarelli would have if this was real life. But it is not, sadly. Alright, so we are in Montreal to play the Habs. Habs are very strong. They won the Cup the first 2 years that I did this. Craig Ramsay has produced 600 points in his career. He has a goal and an assist against Edmonton. Craig Ramsay is 30 and he is 3.5-star player. Glenn Anderson almost recovered. Same for Bob Stevenson. Alright, so Montreal is 54-10-5. Almost impossible to beat. We are all 0-4-1. Well, as usual, I mean, you don't mean real life right now. So we are 0-4-1. Let's win this one. I'd like to win at least one against them. Gilles Gilbert is going to be in net for us. Pat Regan in net for Montreal. Go, Waiters, go. Oh, we lost by 1 goal. A 7-6 loss in Montreal. 40-24 the shots in favor of the Habs. Guy Lafleur was the first star of the game. He had a goal and 2 assists. Anton Stastny was the second star with 3 goals and an assist. And Régent Houle was the third star with 2 goals. Chuck Lefley opened up the scoring in the first. That was his 15th of the season from Bo Berglund and Rick Aduono. Then Montreal tied the game. Then we scored twice. Mark Messier from Wilf Payment and Gordy Roberts. And then Anton Stastny from Peter Stastny and Wilf Payment. 3-1 after 1. Wasn't the French Connection in Buffalo? There was a fight between Rod Langway and Paul Coffey. Then in the second period, Montreal tied the game, and then we scored. Paul Coffey from Anton Stastny and Rob Ramage. It was 4-3 Hartford after 2. We had the lead. Then Montreal tied the game. We took the lead again. Anton Stastny from Glenn Anderson and Rob Ramage. Then Montreal scored twice. We took the lead. We tied the game. Anton Stastny scored shorthanded from Mark Messier and Jay Wells. But then Montreal had 1 more goal in the tank, and we lost 7-6. Then we're back home to play against the Colorado Rockies. Eddie Johnston extends his point streak to 13 games against us with 2 assists. Pierre Mondoux extends his point streak to 13 games with 2 assists against us. That was 11 straight with a point. Strong night for Anton Stastny, as we saw 3 goals and an assist. A strong game for Mike Foligno. He had a hat-trick against Boston. Gilbert Perrault, speaking about the French Connection, Gilbert Perrault extends his assist streak to 8 games. He had an assist against the Flames. Rick Vive extends his goal streak to 5 games. He had a goal against Edmonton. Suspension for Lee Fogolin with the Islanders. He's going to miss 2 games. Mike Bossy extends his goal streak to 10 games with a goal against the Kings. That was 24 straight games with a point for him. Brian Trutzer's point streak ended at 13 games, however. Did not get a point in that game. Réal Cloutier extends his goal streak to 8 games. He had a goal against the Blackhawks. Daryl Sutter extends his assist streak to 9 games with an assist against the Nordiques. Bob Stevenson is feeling better, and Mike Bossy extended for, that would be what, 4 years, I believe. So Mike Bossy, I'm not going to be able to get Mike Bossy as a free agent, apparently. Ooh, the month is gonna end tough with a back-to-back against the Habs. Right, Colorado's in town. They are 22-39-9. We are 1-0-1 against them this season. We are going to beat them, hopefully. Ed Staniowski's in net for Colorado. John Garrett in net for us. Go, Waiters, go! And we win 5-3. That's a game we couldn't lose, or we couldn't afford to lose. A 5-3 victory. Ooh, we got outshot 51-30 in that game. Wilf Payment, the first star of the game, he had 2 goals and an assist. Malinowski was the second star with a goal and an assist, and Paul Coffey was the third star with a goal and 2 assists. 8,707 people in attendance for this game. Gordy Roberts opened up the scoring in the first. It was a power play goal from Peter Stastny and Paul Coffey. Then Colorado tied the game. It was 1-1 after 1. We had a fight between Jay Wells and Jack Hughes. Not that Jack Hughes. In the second period, Colorado scored. It was 2-1 Colorado after 2. We had another fight between Wilf Payment and Dave Babich. Then in the third period, Bo Berglund scored to actually tie the game from Paul Coffey and Chuck Lefley. Then Wilf Payment scored his 45th from Peter Stastny and Ron Stackhouse. And Paul Coffey scored on a power play from Chuck Lefley and Wilf Payment. It was 4-2 Hartford. Colorado scored, and then late in the game, Wilf Payment scored in an empty net from Brent Sutter and Pierre Bouchard. 5-3 the final score. And Chuck Lefley is hurt. Oh, and Jay Wells as well. Brent Sutter improves at right wing. All right. Hey, Chuck Lefley is 1 to 2 weeks. I might need to address that. Eddie Johnston's point streak ended at 13 games. No points against Boston. Pierre Mondou's point streak ended at 13 games. No point for him either. Suspension for Washington's Ryan Walter. He is going to miss 5 games. Glenn Anderson is almost completely recovered, and Bob Stevenson is completely recovered. All right, so I just need to address Chuck Lefley. Dizziness and nausea. So, aka it's the 80s and he has a concussion and we just don't know about it. Alright, so the injured reserve, and we are going to recall somebody. Maybe Neufeld, maybe. Yeah, I think I'm gonna get Neufeld up. Oh, maybe Randy Cunnyword. He's getting better. Yeah, let's get Randy Cunnyword up. He's getting a little bit better. Alright, we have a day off, and then we're going to be playing in Quebec against the Nordiques. Glenn Anderson completely recovered. That's good. Alright, so the Nordiques are 34-25-11. They are 4th in the conference, right behind us. We are 3-3 against the Nordiques. It's been tough at times against them. I'm hoping. The Habs are not even playing, dude. Get back in line. Gilles Gilbert in net for us. Michel Dion in net for the Nordiques. Go Whalers, go. Oh, and it's a 5-5 tie. Alright, so no progress is made in the standings as far as us versus Quebec. We're still very close to each other. We outshot Quebec 38-27. Larivière was the first star of the game. He had a goal and an assist. Wilf Payment was the second star with 2 assists. And Oganson was the third star with a goal. Paul Coffey opened up the scoring in the first period. That was his 25th of the season from Mark Messier and Wilf Payment. Then the Nordiques scored 3 goals. Then Jordy Douglas scored from Rick Aduano, and then Jordy Douglas on the power play from Wilf Payment and Gordy Roberts. It was tied at 3. Yes, I am one of the very few people in existence that miss ties, that feels like there was nothing wrong with ties. I prefer ties over shootouts, that's for sure. Right, a few fights in the first period. Tiger Williams and Mark Messier, and then Phil Russell and Paul Coffey went at it. The second period, the Nordiques made it 4-3. And another fight between Normand Rochefort and Paul Coffey. Then in the third period, Peter Stastny scored on the power play from Gordy Roberts and Mark Messier. Then Quebec took the lead again, and then with 18 seconds left to go in the third period, Anton Stastny scored from Peter Stastny. It was 5-5, and that held. We have a tie. I don't care about loser points. Anton Stastny extends his goal streak to 5 games with his goal in that game, and Gilbert Perrault extends his assist streak to 9 games with an assist against Boston. Alright, we have a day off, and then we're going to be hosting Buffalo again. Mike Bossy extends his goal streak to 11 games with a goal against Colorado. That was 25 straight games with a point for him. Eric Vale is suspended in Calgary. He's going to miss 7 games. Zero points. I don't think that players would be happy with that, to play 65 minutes of hockey and end up with nothing at all. Seeking a spark, Kings execs boot coach Jack Ferreira lost his job as a coach of the Kings. He's going to be replaced by Al McNeil. Neil Broughton is hurt in Minnesota. He's going to miss 4 months. See you next season, Neil Broughton. And Rick Vive extends his goal streak to 6 games with a goal and 2 assists against Washington. Alright, so again, I will be right straight back. And I am back, obviously. Alright, let's go ahead and play against Buffalo. They are now 30-29-12. That's good for 7th in the conference. We are now 3-3-1 against Buffalo. I'd like to beat them. They beat us twice at the start of the stream. Richard Brodeur is going to be in net for Buffalo. Gilles Gilbert in net for us. Come on, man. Give me the win. And we lost 6-5. We are struggling. We're limping going into the playoffs. We're here. Alright, Buffalo outshot us 32-31. Pierre Larouche was the first star of the game. He had 2 goals and an assist. Mark Messier was the second star with 2 goals and an assist as well. And Rick Sailing was the third star with 2 assists. 8,492 people in attendance for this game. Buffalo opened up the scoring in the first. Then Brent Sutter scored his 5th from Wilf Payment and Mark Messier. Then Buffalo scored 3 times. It was 4-1 Buffalo after 1. We scored twice in the second period. Jordy Douglas scored his 15th from Bob Stevenson and Gordy Roberts. Then Peter Stastny scored on the power play. That was unassisted. It was 4-3 Buffalo after 2. We had a fight between Paul Coffey and Danny Gare. And then in the third period, Buffalo made it 5-3. Then Mark Messier scored his 30th on the power play from Peter Stastny and Gordy Roberts. Then Buffalo scored again. It was 6-4. Then Mark Messier again from Glenn Anderson and Peter Stastny, but we just couldn't tie the game. And we lost 6-5. Whalers struggling a little bit. Gilbert Perrault has racked up 400 goals in his career, so his 400 goal happened against us. That was a 2-goal performance for him. Gilbert Perrault is 31 and he is a 4.5 star player. Pierre Bouchard improves at right D. And Gilbert Perrault's assist streak ended at 9 games in that game against us. He did get those 2 goals, but no assists, so that streak is over for him. 2 days off before we play against the Flyers. Jim Dory is suspended with the Blues. He's going to miss 3 games. Daryl Sutter's assist streak ended at 9 games. Did not get a point against Philadelphia. Jay Wells fitting better. That's good. We kind of need that. Sorry, I heard some weird noises. Alright, Jay Wells back sooner rather than later. And now we are playing at home and home against the Flyers. So Flyers are going to be in town. They are 23, 35, and 14. That's good for 8 in the conference. We are 0-1 against the Flyers this season. So we only played them once and we tied. Alright, Pete Peters is going to be in net for the Flyers. John Garrett in net for us. And of course, go Withers, go. Come on. We need to turn things around here. Alright, a nice 8-4 victory here. We outshot Philadelphia 36-16, so our goaltending was not very good in that game. We still won, but yeah, we allowed 4 goals on 16 shots. That's not great. Wilf Payment was the first star of the game. He had a hat-trick, 3 goals. Peter Stastny was the second star with 3 assists, and Gordy Roberts was the third star with 2 assists. 8,262 fans in the stands. Philadelphia opened up the scoring in the first, then we scored 3 times. Mark Missy scored on the power play from Peter Stastny and Gordy Roberts. Then Paul Coffey on the power play from Anton Stastny and Brent Sutter. And then Wilf Payment from Peter Stastny and Mark Missy. It was 3-1 Hartford after 1. And in the second period, Jordy Douglas scored from Bob Stevenson and Ricky Aduono. Then Philadelphia scored. Then we scored 3 times. Anton Stastny scored his 35th from Glenn Anderson. Then Wilf Payment from Peter Stastny and Paul Coffey. Glenn Anderson from Matty Agman and Gordy Roberts. And then Philadelphia scored twice. It was 7-4 Hartford after 2. And then in the third period, Wilf Payment scored again. That was his hat-trick goal from Mark Missy and Jordy Douglas. And it was an 8-4 victory. So Wilf Payment 1 goal away from the 50-goal mark. Red light stays on for Wilf Payment. As we saw, he had a hat-trick. Gilbert Perrault extends his point streak to 12 games. He had a goal against the Bruins. Speaking of the Bruins, Keith Crowder is back from suspension. Tony McKigney extends his point streak to 12 games. He had 2 goals against the Red Wings. Mike Bossy extends his goal streak to 12 games. He had a goal against the Blues. That was 26 straight games with a point for him. Suspension over for Fogolin. He's back in the lineup. Bob Stewart back from suspension as well. And Jay Wells almost recovered. Alright, and now the second of the back-to-back. We are in Philadelphia to play the Flyers again. We are now 1-0-1 against them, and let's beat them again. Gilles Gilbert in net for us. Pete Peters in net for Philadelphia. Come on, Whalers. We can do this. And we indeed did this. A 6-5 victory here on the road against the Flyers. Shots were tied 37 apiece. Matty Agman was the first star of the game. He had a goal and an assist. Eriksson was the second star with 3 assists. And Darren Veitch was the third star with a goal and an assist. Flyers scored 5 straight goals in the first period. And then we finally scored Darren Veitch from Matty Agman and Rick Aduono. Then Paul Coffey on the power play from Peter Stastny. It was 5-2 Philadelphia after 1. We added 2 goals in the second period. Mark Missy from Wilf Payment and Gordy Roberts. And then Matty Agman from Anton Stastny and Glenn Anderson. It was 5-4 after 2. And then we completed the comeback with 2 goals in the third period. Gordy Roberts scored on the power play from Mark Missy and Wilf Payment. And then Dave Poulin scored shorthanded from Darren Veitch and Rob Ramage. And it was a 6-5 victory for the Whalers. Now, Poulin with another shorty, he is way first in the league in that, I believe. Peter Stastny extends his assist streak to 8 games with an assist in that game against the Flyers. Gilbert Perrault's point streak ended at 12 games. He was held scoreless against the Habs. Mike Bossy extends his goal streak to 13 games with a goal and 2 assists against Washington. That's 27 straight games with a point for him. That's starting to be pretty good. Pretty good indeed. Right, 2 days off, and then we're going to be hosting the Quebec Nordiques. Strong game for Al McAdam. He had a hat trick against the Kings. Good game for Ulf Nilsson, who's now with the Minnesota North Stars. He had 4 assists in that same game. Tony McKegney extends his point streak to 13 games with 2 goals against Toronto. Jay Wells is completely recovered, and John Ogrodnik extends with Detroit for 2 more years. Right, we have 1 more day off, and then the Nordiques are in town. Mike Bussey extends his point streak to 28 games with 2 assists. Right, Quebec in town. They are now 35, 26, and 13. That's good for 4th in the conference. We are 3-3-1 against them this season. They are only 1 point back on us. So if they win, they're going to leapfrog us. We do have a game on. Let's beat Quebec here. Let's make it good for us. Michel Dion's in net for the Nordiques. Gilles Gilbert's in net for Hartford. Come on, Whalers. You have another win in you. I know it. And you do, 7-3 win on home ice against the Nordiques in a game that we kind of needed to win here. Nordiques outshot us 43-36. Mark Macy was the first star of the game. He had a hat trick, 3 goals. Peter Stastny was the second star with 3 assists. Glenn Anderson was the third star with a goal and an assist. 7,848 people in attendance. Glenn Anderson opened up the scoring in the first. It was unassisted. Then Rick Aduano scored from Ron Stackhouse and Bob Stevenson. It was 2-0 Hartford after 1. Then Mark Macy scored in the second period from Dave Poulin and Rob Ramage. 3-0 Hartford after 2. Then in the third period, Jay Wells scored from Peter Stastny and Glenn Anderson, made it 4-0. Then Mark Macy scored his 35th on the power play from Ron Stackhouse and Peter Stastny, 5-0 at that point. Nordic scored, then Bob Stevenson scored his 5th from Darren Veitch and Rick Aduano. Nordic scored, Mark Macy scored again for his hat-trick from Peter Stastny and Wilf Payment, made it 7-2, and then the Nordic score made it 7-3. That was a final score. Nice little game here for the Nordiques. For the Whalers, sorry. Oof. Memorable night for Mark Macy at the hat-trick as we saw. Peter Stastny extends his assist streak to 9 games with his 3 assists, and Brent Sutter improves that right wing. Right, we have 3 days off, and then we're going to be playing in Long Island against the Islanders. Tony McKegney's point streak ended at 13 games. He was held scoreless against the Red Wings. Suspension over for Jim Dory back in the lineup, and Chuck Lefley he's starting to be recovered. Oh, Mike Bussey is hurt. He's day-to-day. That happened against the Habs. But he had the time to extend his point streak to 29 games before that happened. He did get an assist. And Ryan Walters back from suspension in Washington. So we're about to play the Islanders. Mike Bussey might not be able to play, so that's good for us. We might be able to beat them. We're 2-0 against the Islanders this season. We have not lost against them, and they are 55-13-7. That's good for 2nd in the conference. So let's see if we can beat them again. That'd be beautiful. John Garrett in net for us. Billy Smith in net for the Islanders. Go Whalers, go. Can we go 3-0 against the Islanders this season? We did a 3-1 victory here against a powerhouse, so we belong. The Hartford Whalers belong in this league, folks. We were outshot 30-25. Peter Stastny was the first star of the game. He had an assist. Person was the second star with a goal, and Bob Stevenson was the third star with a goal. Right, so nobody scored in the first. Then in the second, Matty Agman scored unassisted. Then the Islanders tied the game. It was 1-1 after 2. Then in the third period, Wilf Payment scored his 50th of the season. That's the game-winning goal as well from Jay Wells and Peter Stastny. And then Bob Stevenson in an empty net from Rick Aduano and Jordy Douglas. We had a fight between Dwayne Sutter and Wilf Payment as well shortly after he scored his goal. And yeah, awesome. Right, so Peter Stastny extends his point streak to 12 games with that assist that he had. That was 10 straight games with an assist for him. Strong game for Steve Payne with the North Stars. He had 4 goals against the Bruins. Gilaffer extends his point streak to 5 games with 2 goals against the Nordiques. Passes on point for Brent Ashton. He had 4 assists against the Flames. And Chuck Cliffley is feeling better and better. Alright, we are hosting the Minnesota North Stars. They are 41-27-8. Pretty good record over there. We have not beaten them this season. We had 2 losses. So let's win at least 1 here. John Davidson in net for Minnesota. Gilles Gilbert in net for us. Go Raiders, go. A 5-2 win. There you go. Our first win of the season against Minnesota. We outshot them 41-35. Wilf Payment was the first star of the game. He had a goal and an assist. Anton Stastny was the second star with a goal and an assist. And Gordy Roberts was the third star with 2 assists. 8,256 people in attendance for this game. Anton Stastny opened up the scoring in the first from Glenn Anderson and Dave Poulin. Then Ron Stackhouse from Anton Stastny and Wilf Payment. 2-0 Hartford after 1. Then Minnesota tied the game in the second period with 2 goals. It was 2-2 heading into the third period where Wilf Payment scored on the power play from Peter Stastny and Gordy Roberts. Then Jordy Douglas from Darren Veitch and Gordy Roberts. And finally Peter Stastny scored his 35th from Mark Messier and Rob Ramage. 5-2 the final score. We had a fight between Jay Wells and Mario Marois. Peter Stastny extends his point streak to 13 games with a goal and an assist. As we saw, that was 11 straight games with an assist for him. Strong night for Tony McKegney. 3 goals and an assist against the Blues. Gretzky is day-to-day with an injury. Brett Callaghan in that same game had a hat-trick, 3 goals against the Kings. Prolific passing night for Marcel Dion in that game. 4 assists for him. And Chuck Lefley is completely recovered. Alright, let's see here. We're going to send Randy Cunningworth down. He did play in 2 games, didn't do much. That's okay, he's so young. So go learn in the American Hockey League. Right, we have 2 games left here in March, and they're both against Montreal, so I wish I had better news. It's going to be a home-and-home against the Abs. Alright, Abs are 58-11-7. They are first in the conference. We are 0-5-1 against them. So hopefully we can win at least 1 game. Gilles Gilbert in net for us. Bob Sauvé in net for Montreal. Come on, Raiders. Let's win 1. Ooh, we lost 7-1. So that's not going to be that one. We were outshot 36-27. Mats Naslund was the first star of the game. He had 2 goals. Rod Langway was the second star with a goal and an assist. And Larry Robinson was the third star with 2 assists. Nobody scored in the first. And then there was a fight between Larry Robinson and Jay Wells. Then in the second period, Montreal scored 3 goals. Then Peter Stastny scored on the power play from Gordy Roberts and Chuck Cliffley. It was 3-1 Montreal. They added 1 more goal. And then they added 3 goals in the third period, and that's a 7-1 trouncing. And we're just going to move on from that. Peter Stastny extends his point streak to 14 games with his goal in that game, but his assist streak ended at 11 games. Right, and I don't care about the March scouting. Alright, last game here. We're going to host Montreal. Alright, let's do it. Pat Reagan in net, John Garrett in net. Come on, Hartford, let's win 1 against Montreal, please. Yes, we did! We won 5-3, finally. We were able to beat the Montreal Canadiens. We outshot them 32-26. Jordy Douglas was the first star of the game. He had a goal and 2 assists. Wayne Merrick was the second star with 2 assists. And Rick Aduano was the third star with a goal and an assist. 9,078 people in attendance for this game. Rick Aduano scored first in the first, his 15th of the season from Jordy Douglas and Bob Stevenson. Then Montreal tied the game. It was 1-1 after 1. We had a fight between Wilf Payment and Mario Tremblay. Then in the second period, Montreal made it 2-1. Then Bernie Johnston scored from Wilf Payment and Jordy Douglas tied the game. And then Peter Stastny scored on the power play unassisted. It was 3-2 Hartford after 2. Then in the third period, Montreal scored, tied the game, and then we scored 2 goals. Rob Ramage from Paul Coffey and Matty Agman, and then Jordy Douglas from Paul Coffey and Rick Aduano. 5-3, the final score. Yay! We won a game! Peter Stastny extends his point streak to 15 games with that goal. Top-selling Hartford Whalers jerseys: John Garrett, Wilf Payment, Mark Missy, Paul Coffey, and Gordy Roberts. No Peter Stastny jerseys for some reason. Alright, development report. Oof, my goaltenders are dropping fast. Alright, so in the NHL, Bob Sauvé sold the most jerseys. Kent Nilsson signed an extension with the Flames. That's a 2-year extension. And the best player in the league for the month of March were Guy Lafleur and Don Edwards. Alright, so we end the month still third in the conference, even though we had some ups and downs. We are 6 points ahead of the Nordiques. We did play one more game than them then. So we will see. Let's see, is Pittsburgh still the worst team in the league? I hope so. They are. Then the Jets is the second worst team. Alright. So it was visionary of me to trade for their first round draft pick or something. Alright, so let's take a look at our stats, which is going to be pretty much close to the end of season stats. So both Wilf Payment and Peter Stastny have over 100 points. Wilf Payment has 122 points. That's really good. Peter Stastny 109. Paul Coffey 82 points. Anton Stastny 78. Mark Missy 75 in 59 games. And then, it goes down, but we've been scoring goals this year. There's no more Hartford Whalers cannot score goals. We can, and we do. So that's pretty good. Right, and in the entire league, the best goal scorer is Mike Bossy with 70 goals. The best passer is Wayne Gretzky with 83 assists. And the best scorer is Mike Bossy with 141 points. Wilf Payment is third, and Peter Stastny is seventh. So look at us. There used to be a time that we were nowhere close to the tops here, but we are now. And Dave Poulin, 7 shorthanded goals. That's 4 more than second place. So that's pretty good. Alright, so we are doing alright. I mean, we do have a 41, 27, and 10 record. That's pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and save the game. And I should be back on Wednesday, and then we're going to do the 2 remaining games and the playoffs all the way to the start of the off season. So that's what's going to be in store for us in the next stream there. But that's it for ARG today. I'm gonna go ahead and take a break here. So as usual, I want to thank you for tuning in. If you're catching this on YouTube, you like the video, you know what to do. But until next time, ARG says peace out, man.